Today for our book talk, it's a book called In a Glass Grimly by Adam Gidwitz. And I'm going to read a short selection and then talk to you about my choice for choosing this book or reading this book. Once upon a time, fairy tales were horrible. Not boring horrible, not so cute you want to jump out of the window horrible. Horrible like they define it in the dictionary. Horrible, horrible adjective, causing feelings of horror, dread, unbearable sadness, and nausea, also tending to produce nightmares, whimpering for one's parents, and bedwetting. I know. You're thinking, fairy tales? Horrible? Please. I get that. If you've been raised on the drivel that passes for fairy tales these days, you're not going to believe a word that I'm saying. First of all, you're probably not used to hearing the same boring fairy tales over and over and over again. Today, children, we're going to read a Cinderella story from China. Today, children, we're going to read a Cinderella story from Madagascar. Today, children, we're going to read a Cinderella story from the moon. Today, children, second of all, those fairy tales that you hear over and over and over again aren't even the real fairy tales. Has your teacher ever said to you, today, children, we're going to read a Cinderella story where the stepsisters cut off their toes and their heels with a butcher's knife? And then they get their eyes pecked out by birds? Ready? Is everyone sitting crisscross applesauce? No? She's never said that? I didn't think so. But that's what the real fairy tales are like, strange, bloody, and horrible. 200 years ago in Germany, the brothers Grimm first wrote down that version of Cinderella, in which the stepsisters slice off pieces of their feet and get their eyes pecked out. In England, a man named Joseph Jacobs collected tales like Jack the Giant Killer, which is about a boy named Jack who goes around murdering giants in the most gruesome and grotesque ways imaginable. And there was this guy called Hans Christian Andersen who lived in Denmark and wrote fairy tales filled with sadness and humiliation and loneliness. Even Mother Goose's rhymes could get pretty dark. After all, Jack and Jill go up a hill and then Jack falls down and breaks his head open? Yes, fairy tales were horrible in the original sense of the word. But even these horrible fairy tales and nursery rhymes aren't true. They're just stories, right? Not exactly. You see, buried in these rhymes and tales are true stories of true children who fought through the darkest times and came out the other end, stronger, braver, and usually completely covered in blood. This book is the tale of two such children, a boy named Jack and a girl named Jill. Yes, they do fall down a hill at one point, and yes, Jack does break his head wide open. But there's more than that. There's a beanstalk, there are giants, there might even be a mermaid or two. Their story is terrifying. It is revolting. It is horrible. It is the most horrible fairy tale I've ever heard. Also, it's beautiful. Not sweet, not cute. Beautiful, like the gray and golden ashes in a fireplace, or like the deep russet of a drying stain of blood. And best of all, it's true. Now, let me just say that if you happen to be the kind of person who actually likes cute and sweet fairy tales, or the kind of person who thinks children should not read about decapitation or dismemberment, or finally, if you're the kind of person who, upon hearing about two children wading through a pool of blood and vomit, runs out of the room screaming, you don't need to worry. This book is for you. There is no decapitation, dismemberment, people without clothing, or pools of blood or vomit anywhere in the book. At least not anywhere in the first few pages. Wait, you're probably asking, what about the people without clothing? Nothing, move right along. So that is the beginning of In a Glass Grimly by Adam Ginwitz. And this starts off the clever and witty companion to his first book, A Tale Dark and Grim. And so that's this first book is right here. This is book 1, book 2, book 3. You do not have to read them in order. Fairy tales aren't what you used to, as happy endings aren't as promised, and bloodshed is the norm. This is Jack and Jill's twisted tale of how the cousins go in an insane quest to find a treasure or else they die. But don't worry, the narrator will keep checking in on you in this fast paced novel that inspires readers to look within themselves for the answers they seek. This is a page turner for sure. Happy reading.